My awakened child, something in your spirit has been trembling, hasn't it? A quiet alarm that you couldn't explain, a pressure in the air around your home, a sense that something is watching, something is shifting, something is about to break open. And today, Archangel Michael steps forward with a message that refuses to wait, because there are only 15 minutes left. The heavens are speaking urgently, not to frighten you, but to prepare you. The title you saw was not a coincidence. It was a summons, a divine alert sent directly to your spirit. Archangel Michael says, a stranger was caught outside your home. Their plan did not go unseen. Open this message quickly. These words echo through the atmosphere like a warning trumpet, sharp, precise, and impossible to ignore. And you were meant to hear it. Listen closely. Michael has been standing guard at the very edges of your home, the unseen borders where spiritual battles break out long before they ever appear in the natural world. Something, or someone, was approaching. Something that carried dark intent, a presence that did not belong near your family, your peace, or your destiny. But before it could step 1 foot closer, Michael intercepted it. You have no idea how close you were to danger, and you have no idea how fiercely heaven has been fighting for you. You may not have seen the stranger with your physical eyes, but spiritually, the threat was real, a shadow sent to destroy something precious in your life. The message said they are planning to kill you, and Michael stops right there, not to withhold truth, but to pull you into attention. Because what they targeted was not always a person. Sometimes the enemy comes to kill your purpose. Sometimes your peace. Sometimes your faith. Sometimes your future. And this time they aim for something deeply connected to your destiny. But hear this with full authority, they failed. Heaven exposed the intruder before they ever touched your life. The moment this stranger approached the threshold of your spiritual house, Archangel Michael drew his sword. A flash of celestial fire ripped through the atmosphere, and what was meant for harm was instantly halted. You were spared, not by chance but by divine orchestration. But this warning is not finished yet. Michael says the reason this attack came so close is because you are stepping into a season the enemy fears. Something in your life is about to unlock, a blessing, a breakthrough, a realignment that will shift your entire story. And whenever that moment comes, darkness sends surveillance, confusion, people with hidden motives, and spiritual assassins to disrupt the plan before it blooms. That is why the heavens rushed this message to you. Because you needed to know this battle is not over yet. There are only 15 minutes left. Not literal minutes, but a divine countdown. A window of time where your decisions, your awareness, and your alignment with God will determine what happens next. This timing represents urgency in the spiritual realm, not panic in the physical one. You are being called into readiness. Michael says, they tried to enter because your light is rising. Protect what is awakening inside you. Think about that. You have been feeling emotional waves recently, sudden heaviness, unexpected fear, restless nights, unexplainable thoughts. These were not random. They were the vibrations of a spiritual collision happening outside your awareness. But now you are awakening. Now you are listening. Now you are receiving instruction from the warrior assigned to your life. Michael wants you to understand this. The stranger outside your home represents an energy, a person, or a situation that is not meant to cross into your inner world. Someone has been observing you with the wrong intentions, in jealousy, in resentment, in secret bitterness. You may know this person, or they may be connected from a distance, but heaven caught them before they could reach you. There is something about your home, your sanctuary, that carries spiritual weight. The enemy sought to disturb the very place where your spirit rests, and regain strength. But the shield placed around you is stronger than any attack formed against you. Still, Michael asks you not to ignore this warning. There is something you must do. You must stay spiritually awake in this season. You must guard your conversations. You must stay aware of who enters your space, physically and emotionally. You must protect the vision God placed inside you. Because the stranger's intention was to kill what God has been nurturing in you. Your fire, your assignment, your next stage. But heaven has declared they will not succeed. As you listen to this message, you may feel a pull in your chest, a stirring, a recognition, a sense that this is not just information, it is revelation. That feeling is your spirit remembering what it already knew. You are under divine surveillance, divine defense, divine protection. Michael is still standing guard, sword still drawn, eyes still watching. And before this warning continues, he whispers one last thing for this moment. Stay with this message. There is more you must hear before the countdown ends. My guarded one, as this warning deepens, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. You may not see it with your natural eyes, but spiritually, the ground beneath your feet is moving. Archangel Michael is not speaking casually. His tone carries the weight of urgency, precision, and divine strategy. When he said there were only 15 minutes left, he was revealing how close the spiritual confrontation had already come. The stranger who appeared outside your home was not merely a person wandering near your door. They were drawn by a force, an intention, a dark whisper that targeted the very foundation of your life. But before their shadow could blend with your environment, Michael stood between you and what was pursuing you. As you continue to listen, Michael now unveils a deeper layer of this warning. The presence that approached your home was connected to an old cycle you have been unknowingly breaking. This is why the timing felt sharp, sudden, almost shocking. You have been shedding something heavy in your life, something that once tied you to patterns of fear, silence, or self-doubt. The moment heaven detected that your breakthrough was beginning, the enemy reacted swiftly. They dispatched a spiritual intruder to shake your structure, to provoke disruption, to cause a fracture in your emotional or mental stability. But Michael's intervention was not just protective, it was prophetic. He intercepted the stranger to show you how valuable your destiny truly is. You have been underestimating your spiritual influence. You've been thinking your prayers were small, your voice unnoticed, your future uncertain. But in truth, every moment you survived, every tear you wiped, every night you fought through made you more powerful than the darkness expected. That is why this attack came so close to your home. Not because you are weak, but because you are beginning to walk in a new authority that threatens everything that once tried to control you. Michael reveals that the stranger outside did not come from nowhere. Someone, somewhere has been speaking your name with negative intention. Someone had been watching your life with a mixture of curiosity and hostility. It may be a person from your past who envies your healing, a silent rival who resents your stability, or a spiritual force that has been hoping to reattach itself to your life. But they did not expect heaven to guard your path so aggressively. The moment they took one step toward your home, they were met with celestial fire. Michael's sword flashed like lightning through the unseen realm, severing their access, breaking their influence, and scattering the energy they carried. But although the danger was stopped, Michael says the message remains incomplete. Heaven didn't just come to inform you of an attack, it came to prepare you for what is next. There is a shift occurring around you right now, a shift so profound that everything connected to your next season is being rearranged. This is why people have been behaving strangely. This is why you have felt moments of heaviness or confusion. This is why sudden memories have resurfaced. You are standing in the passageway between what was and what will be. And whenever you stand in transition, the enemy sends distractions, people with hidden motives, or spiritual noise to disturb your focus. But this time, it will not work. Your awareness is rising. Michael is unveiling truth that will prevent any future intrusion from entering your space, physically or spiritually. He wants you to know that protection is not just something God does for you. It is something He places around you like a mantle. A warrior's shield has been assigned to your home. Nothing enters unless heaven permits it. Nothing leaves unless heaven approves it. Still, Michael urges you to become intentional with your energy. There is someone in your life, or someone near your environment, who carries a vibration that does not belong in your circle. You may sense inconsistencies in their words, conflicting behavior, or an unsettling presence you can't quite explain. Pay attention to these signals. Heaven is exposing this person slowly, gently, but clearly. You will notice their true nature very soon, and when you do, you must step back without guilt or hesitation. You are being positioned for a breakthrough that cannot be contaminated. You are being aligned with a blessing that requires purity, clarity, and focus. The stranger outside your home symbolized the last attempt of darkness to interfere before your next chapter opens. But Michael stands before you now, his voice strong, his wings shielding the spiritual perimeter of your life. He says, strengthen your spirit. Protect your atmosphere. Guard your peace. These words are not suggestions, they are preparations. And now, my dear one, if this message is resonating in your soul, it is because your spirit recognizes the truth in it. You have felt the shift. You have sensed the tension. You have noticed small signs that something unseen was brushing against your reality. Today, heaven confirms what your intuition whispered. You were not imagining it. Something was approaching, but it had been stopped. Before we continue deeper, take a breath and let this truth settle. You are protected. You are seen. You are being guided step by Archangel Michael himself. And this message is unfolding exactly when you need it. If this revelation is reaching you, make sure you like this video so the message spreads. Share it so others under attack can receive protection. Comment your thoughts to stay connected with this prophetic flow. And if you feel aligned, subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications, because the messages ahead will guide you into your breakthrough. My watched over soul, as Archangel Michael draws closer, the atmosphere around this message begins to feel heavier, almost electric. That is because we are now stepping into the part of the revelation where truth meets exposure. The stranger outside your home was not just a passing threat. They were a symptom of a deeper movement happening in the spiritual realm. Michael has been tracking this energy for longer than you realize. The moment your spirit began rising, the moment your heart began healing, the moment your destiny started aligning again, something in the dark took notice. And when heaven saw that notice turn into intention, the alarm was sounded and Michael descended. You need to understand the depth of what was intercepted. What approached your home carried an assignment, a deliberate act sent with precision. Heaven never reveals a warning this intense unless the danger was close. The stranger was not meant to steal a physical possession. Their aim was something far greater. They came to kill your confidence, your stability, your progress. They came to push you back into an old version of yourself, one that you have fought so hard to outgrow. But that old version is no longer available. You have transformed beyond recognition, even if you have not noticed it yet. The enemy saw your growth before you did. That is why this visitation happened now. For weeks, perhaps months, you have felt a strange stirring inside you. Moments of sudden fear with no explanation. Nights where your sleep felt watched. Days where you sensed someone talking about you or thinking of you with negative intent. These were not random sensations. They were signals. They were spiritual tremors indicating that an unseen presence was circling your life. And today, Archangel Michael exposes the truth behind those tremors. He says, "I stand at your gate because your name was whispered in dark places." These words are not meant to frighten you. They are meant to show you how powerful you truly are. People do not plot against the insignificant. Nor does the non chase the unthreatening. The enemy does not intrude where nothing of value exists. You, my dear one, carry a destiny that shakes the ground beneath your feet. You carry light that disturbs what hides in shadows. You carry favor that intimidates anything that wishes to destroy you. This is the real reason the stranger appeared. Something is shifting in your life with force. A breakthrough is near, a turning point that will alter your story. But breakthroughs always disturb the spiritual frequencies around you. When heaven prepares to bless you, the enemy scrambles to block it. And when you begin to awaken to who you are, those who cannot stand your growth begin showing their true colors. This is why the presence near your home had to be confronted immediately. Michael's sword did not only block the intruder, it revealed something else. Someone around you is not who they appear to be. Your intentions are quietly misaligned with your spirit. You may sense discomfort when you think of them or uncertainty when you speak to them. They may act friendly, but their thoughts carry jealousy, resentment, or silent sabotage. The stranger outside was the physical manifestation of a spiritual truth. There is a person whose words and energy cannot be trusted. Heaven is preparing to expose them. Your mask is slipping. Their influence on your life is being removed piece by piece. And yet, Michael assures you of this: no matter who tries to harm you, no matter who watches you with envy, no matter what darkness attempts to approach you, heaven's protection is already in place. What was meant to terrify you has already been defeated. What tried to reach your home has already been dismissed. What sought to enter your atmosphere has already been disarmed. The attack was seen, intercepted, and neutralized before you even became aware of it. This is why you have been drawn to this message. Your spirit needed confirmation. Your heart needed clarity. Your path needed guidance. Archangel Michael is not speaking to your fear. He is strengthening your discernment. He is sharpening your awareness so that when exposure comes, whether through behavior, conversation, or sudden revelation, you will not be shocked. You will understand that heaven warned you ahead of time. Michael now tells you this: guard the next door you open. This refers not only to physical doors, but emotional access, personal connections, and opportunities that may appear attractive but carry hidden consequences. Be slow to trust sudden closeness. Be aware of those who show interest too quickly. Discern every invitation, every conversation, every energetic shift. Heaven is guiding you into a season where your sensitivity will be heightened, not to burden you, but to protect the greatness inside you. As this part of the message reaches its end, take a breath and feel the spiritual truth settling inside your body. You are being shielded. You are being warned. You are being elevated. And nothing that tries to harm you will succeed. Before we move on, hold for a moment, because the next revelation will shake something loose in your spirit. Trust me, this next part will blow your mind. Type "I receive the warning" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Lesson code 441 has just been released. Just as Archangel Michael shields your home, this channel stands as a beacon for souls seeking truth, protection, and divine clarity. When you pour into this mission, you are not supporting a platform. You are sowing into a field where lost hearts are restored and hidden battles are exposed. Heaven says that every seed brings forth a harvest, just as light breaks open the darkness at your doorstep. And now, I speak to you personally. If your spirit feels stirred, if this revelation speaks to your inner knowing, step into this moment with holy boldness. Your support becomes a river that carries this message to every soul God intends to save from spiritual attack. Every giver is blessed with the oil of protection, and every offering becomes a decree in the unseen realm. So move with faith, not hesitation. Activate your obedience through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, and let heaven mark your giving as a prophetic act. My steadfast soul, as we move deeper into this revelation, Archangel Michael shifts his stance. His wings, once still, now rise with a quiet authority, and the atmosphere around his presence becomes sharper. You are entering the portion of the message where hidden truths begin to rise from the shadows. The stranger outside your home was not only a physical threat, not only a symbolic interruption, but also a spiritual indicator that something long concealed is now surfacing. Heaven has watched the movements around your life with precision, and what was once whispered in darkness is being dragged into the light. Michael begins to reveal the part most people ignore. Attacks do not come without reason. They come when a breakthrough is near, when something powerful is shifting, when a person is rising into a version of themselves that heaven had been shaping for years. You may have thought your life has been moving slowly. You may have felt stuck, uncertain, waiting for clarity or answers. But in reality, your spirit hath been accelerating. Even on days when you felt tired, heaven saw progress. Even when you doubted yourself, heaven saw resilience. And even when you felt weak, heaven witnessed strength growing inside you. The stranger came because the enemy felt that growth. They sensed something opening around you, something they could not predict or control. They frightened them. The enemy's greatest fear is not your suffering, it is your awakening. When a soul begins to rise, when an identity becomes clear, when purpose becomes loud, darkness panics. And so they send a distraction, a threat, a spiritual intruder to shake your foundation. But they miscalculated one thing. You are protected by a warrior who has never lost a battle. Michael says, you were being watched, but not in the way you think. The stranger outside your home was not operating independently. They were influenced by an energy connected to someone who had been silently observing you. This person does not speak their intentions openly, but their heart reveals them. They carry jealousy for your blessings, frustration at your progress, or resentment toward your resilience. They do not want to see you rise because your rise reminds them of what they have refused to heal within themselves. This does not mean they are evil. It means they are wounded. But wounded people can sometimes become dangerous when they refuse to confront their own darkness. That inner conflict begins leaking as envy, quiet manipulation, or subtle hostility. Heaven is removing the influence this person has over your path. Their energy cannot follow you where God is leading you next. You may have already noticed distance forming, conversations shifting, or connection weakening. That is not coincidence. It is divine separation. But there is more. Michael reveals that the enemy attempted to use this person's open wounds as a gateway. They sought access through emotional cracks, old memories, unresolved pain, anything that could lead darkness to your doorstep. But heaven blocked the entry before it could become a doorway. That moment when the stranger approached your home was a final attempt. The last push. Once Michael intercepted it, the cycle was broken. Still, Michael asks you to pay close attention to how certain people interact with you in the coming days. The one whose heart has been misaligned with your spirit will begin to reveal themselves unintentionally. Their words may slip, their tone may shift, their behavior may feel off. Pay attention to these small signals. Heaven will always expose threats gently before removing them completely. Now the message deepens. Michael leans in and speaks not to your ears, but to your soul. He says, be careful what you speak in this season. Words are doors. Thoughts are invitations. Emotions are signals. If you speak fear, you create openings for fear to enter. If you speak frustration, you invite confusion. If you speak defeat, you allow heaviness to attach itself to your journey. But if you speak protection, peace, clarity, and strength, then heaven aligns itself with your voice. Your words are not ordinary. They carry the authority of someone who has been chosen. Your home, in the spiritual realm, is glowing. There is a light surrounding it that darkness despises. That light intensified recently because you have been healing. You have been releasing old pains, stepping out of old cycles, refusing old identities. You may not realize how powerful healing is, but heaven does, and so does the enemy. That is why the attack came when it did. It was a desperate attempt to stop your next chapter before it opened. Michael also wants you to understand that the 15-minute warning was not random. It represented the final stretch of a spiritual countdown. You were stepping into a moment where divine timelines were aligning. Heaven saw the shift and reacted instantly. Sometimes protection looks like silence, but this time it looked like intervention. The stranger was never allowed to cross the threshold because heaven had already determined your future. Your story does not end in fear and continues in strength. As this message unfolds, you may begin to feel a sense of clarity settling inside your chest. You may feel your heart loosening, your breath deepening, your intuition sharpening. That is because spiritual truth always brings alignment. Archangel Michael's presence is not here to scare you. It is here to awaken you. You were never unprotected. You were never alone. You were never walking blindly. Heaven has been guarding you through every season, even the ones that broke you. And now, as we prepare to step into the next revelation, hold on to this truth. Every attack that reaches your doorstep reveals the magnitude of the blessing waiting on the other side. Heaven would not warn you if greatness were not approaching. Protection is a sign of purpose. And the fact that Michael himself intervened means your destiny carries weight in the heavens. My rising soul, as we step into this next unfolding, Archangel Michael's presence becomes even more pronounced. The air around this message feels charged, as though the very atmosphere is preparing to deliver something that has been hidden from you for far too long. Michael now reveals not only what was approaching your home, but why it happened at this exact moment in your life. Every attack carries timing. Every intrusion carries intention. And every warning carries purpose. You are not listening to this message by accident. You were drawn here because the heavens have reached a point where silence is no longer an option. Michael begins by explaining the deeper reason the stranger appeared at your doorstep. This was not a random encounter. It was not coincidence. It was not misdirection. It was a final attempt to derail a spiritual shift that is already at your door. Something is unfolding in your life that the enemy has been trying to delay for months. You may have felt moments of frustration lately, projects slowing down, relationships becoming unclear, unexpected obstacles rising out of nowhere. You may have even questioned whether God was still moving in your life at all. But in truth, these delays were indicators that the enemy sensed what you could not yet see, a divine breakthrough forming in the unseen. This breakthrough is not small. It is not light. It is not ordinary. It is something that will change the way you walk, think, feel, and exist. Heaven has been preparing you for it quietly, gently, consistently. Every hardship you endured, every tear you shed, every setback you pushed through, all of it has been shaping you to receive what's coming next. And the enemy watched that shaping with dread. They saw your strength rising. They saw your clarity sharpening. They saw your spirit healing from old wounds that once made you vulnerable. Darkness feeds on vulnerability, but you have been outgrowing every trap it used to place around you. That is why the attack outside your home was not merely an intimidation tactic. It was a desperate attempt to stop something heaven is determined to release. You are entering a new season of your life, one that carries elevation. And elevation always attracts spiritual surveillance. Every time heaven prepares to promote someone, emotionally, spiritually, financially, or relationally, the enemy attempts to block the doorway. But this time, heaven refused to let the enemy come close. The moment the stranger approached your boundary, Michael stepped in with such force that the enemy's plan shattered instantly. Still, Michael says the warning remains active because your awareness must increase. He reveals that this breakthrough is attached to a specific aspect of your life that has long been under attack. It may be your emotional well-being, your finances, your relationships, or your calling. But whatever it is, the enemy sought to kill it before it could be reborn. He sensed heaven restoring something in you, something powerful, something necessary. They sensed your identity returning. They sensed your voice gaining strength. They sensed your purpose waking up after being dormant for too long. But now, heaven declares that identity cannot be taken, that purpose cannot be silenced, that future cannot be canceled. The stranger outside your home represented the last attempt, the final push of resistance before heaven's movement breaks through fully. And Michael wants to prepare you for what happens next. He says, when blessings approach, shadows become restless. You may not have realized it, but the strange emotions you have been feeling recently were not signs of weakness. They were signs of transition. You were stepping out of an old chapter, and your spirit felt the stretching, the tension, the shifting. You may have felt tired without explanation, sensitive to energies around you, or suddenly protective of your peace. These are not random reactions. They are spiritual symptoms. Heaven has been expanding your inner world so that you are ready to receive what is meant for you. Michael continues, revealing something crucial. You are being lifted out of a cycle that has followed you for years. The cycle has appeared in different forms. People who drain you, situations that repeat, opportunities that start but never complete. You have lived with the weight of this cycle so long that you almost believed it was part of your identity. But heaven says otherwise. This cycle is breaking. The stranger appeared because the cycle sensed its expiration. Something that once held power over your life is losing its grip. As this truth sinks in, Michael shifts his wings slightly, signaling a change in energy. He reminds you that your home, spiritually, is a sanctuary. It is a place heaven guards fiercely. Anything that approaches it with wrong intention is confronted immediately. But Michael now wants you to strengthen your spiritual walls from the inside as well. Guard your mind from negative thoughts. Guard your heart from emotional manipulation. Guard your peace from those who drain it without giving anything in return. Guard your focus from distractions disguised as opportunities. Guard your faith from whispers of doubt. You are stepping into a moment where clarity will come suddenly. Answers will unfold naturally. Exposures will occur gently but unmistakably. People who have been carrying hidden intentions will begin revealing themselves. Patterns you once tolerated will begin to break. Doors that were closed will start opening. And things that once confused you will start making sense. This is the purification before the elevation. Michael finishes this segment with a soft but commanding whisper. Prepare yourself for what heaven is about to reveal next. His words carry weight because the next message will show you who the stranger's energy was connected to, and why heaven moved with such urgency. My vigilant soul, as we step further into this unfolding revelation, Archangel Michael's voice grows stronger, not in volume, but in certainty. There is a firmness in his tone now, a clarity that tells you the next portion of this message carries weight. The stranger outside your home was not an isolated disturbance. It was the surface-level outcome of a deeper undercurrent moving beneath your life. And now Michael reveals the unseen thread tying all of this together. This thread has been present for years, woven through your experiences, your challenges, your repeated cycles. You may not have noticed it, but heaven hath been tracking it carefully. Michael begins with a truth that may shake you. The energy that pushed the stranger toward your home did not originate from the stranger themselves. They were simply the vessel. The true source was spiritual, emotional, and deeply connected to a wound you have carried for far too long. There is an unresolved weight in your past that once opened doors for the enemy to step into your life with ease. But recently, you have been healing, truly healing. Not the surface-level kind where you pretend to be fine, but the deep, internal shift where your soul releases patterns that once fed your pain. Healing threatens darkness because it closes doors that were once open. And because you have begun closing those doors, the spiritual attack intensified. This is why the stranger approached now. Their appearance was the echo of a larger battle. Heaven has been dismantling old chains around your life, chains that connected you to fear, insecurity, or cycles of betrayal. Someone from your past, or someone who carries the same energy as that past, has been sending out vibrations, intentional or unintentional, that called darkness toward your home. Not because they wanted tragedy, but because they never healed their connection to you. Your envy, attachment, or unresolved resentment acted like a beacon, and heaven intercepted it before it could manifest into something catastrophic. Michael reveals that this person's energy has been circling your life, even at times when you believe you had walked away. Their mind drifts to you more often than you realize. Their thoughts, colored by conflict or longing, created a spiritual frequency that reached your space. You may have felt it as sudden heaviness, sudden worry, or sudden emotional discomfort. These were not random shifts. They were ripples from the connection heaven is now severing. The stranger outside symbolized that frequency attempting to cross into your present. But Archangel Michael destroyed that attempt instantly. Still, Michael does not want you to simply hear this message. He wants you to rise through it. He urges you to understand that not every connection from your past deserves continued access to your future. Some people were removed from your journey because their energy could not survive the elevation God is guiding you into. The more you grow, the more misaligned their presence becomes. And when someone refuses to heal while you rise, the gap between you becomes dangerous. Heaven saw that gap, and it acted with urgency. Now Michael turns your attention inward. He says that your heart hath been yearning for stability, peace, and clarity. You have prayed for direction, asked for signs, and hoped for confirmation. The warning you are hearing now is part of that answer. Heaven is cleansing your path of people and energies that cannot support your next season. The stranger's appearance was the final spiritual trigger needed to expose who and what must be removed from your life. Michael explains that you have entered a time of accelerated alignment. This means everything that does not match your destiny will begin to fall away. Old friendships, toxic connections, draining relationships, even internal habits that once controlled you will begin to dissolve. You may feel discomfort during this process because release always feels unfamiliar. But heaven is not taking anything from you, that is freeing you from what was never meant to stay. The shift happening around you is not simply protection, it is preparation. Michael says, something is coming that requires your full strength. You may feel a stirring inside you as you hear these words, a recognition that aligns with your inner knowing. Something new is on its way. Something blessed. Something that carries God's fingerprint. The stranger could not stop it. Darkness could not delay it. And no human intention can interfere with it. However, Michael urges you to take responsibility for your spiritual environment. Guard your atmosphere intentionally. Speak life into your home. Pray over your doorway. Protect your peace from emotional intruders. Do not allow negativity to take root. Your home is becoming a sanctuary through which heaven will pour new blessings. Treat it as sacred. And now Michael turns his gaze toward you directly. He says, strengthen your voice. The enemy once silenced you through brokenness, but not anymore. Your voice will become your shield. Speak boldly. Declare protection over your life. Affirm your purpose. Proclaim your identity. Every word you speak in alignment with heaven strengthens the barrier around your home. As this segment nears its close, there is something important you must hear. You did not imagine the recent heaviness, the strange dreams, the sudden anxiety, or the unexplainable tension. You were sensing the approach of the intruder. But now that danger has passed, you are safe. You are guarded. You are covered. And nothing that tried to reach you will succeed in the future. If this message is speaking to you, take a moment to support its mission. Like this video to push it further into the world. Comment to stay connected in this prophetic flow. Share this message so others under spiritual attack can find guidance and protection. And subscribe, because what heaven is about to reveal next may be the most important message you hear this month. Before you move away, hold still for a moment. This is where the story begins to open in ways you did not expect. You'll thank yourself for staying connected to what comes next. My awakened soul, as we step into this next movement of the message, the atmosphere around you begins to shift once again. Archangel Michael's presence grows even more vivid, as though the veil between the spiritual and physical is thinning with every word you hear. You have arrived at the part of the revelation where heaven begins to show you not only what was stopped outside your home, but what is rising inside you. This is where clarity meets confrontation. This is where truth meets transformation. And this is where you begin to understand why the enemy became so desperate that they tried to send a stranger to your very doorstep. Michael begins with a truth that may surprise you. What the enemy attempted to kill was not a person, not a possession, not a moment. It was a version of you that heaven has been carefully nurturing. You are not the same person you were 6 months ago. You are not carrying the same fears you once carried. You are not bound by the same emotional chains you once believed were permanent. Without noticing, you have been evolving, healing, sharpening, rising. And when the enemy realized that the version of you they once controlled was disappearing, they panicked. They tried to reattach themselves to your life by sending chaos to your home. But chaos failed. Darkness failed. The stranger failed. You survived what was meant to break you because heaven stepped in faster than the enemy expected. Now Michael shifts the message toward the deeper revelation. The spiritual attack was not simply about stopping you. It was about preventing something you are about to receive. There is a blessing, a breakthrough, a divine appointment designed specifically for you that has been released. It is already in motion, and the enemy sensed it approaching before you did. That is why your emotions have felt heightened lately. That is why your dreams have been strange. That is why you have felt both anticipation and tension rising at the same time. Your spirit knows something is coming. The enemy knows it too. And Michael says that is the real reason the intruder appeared. Heaven is preparing to shift your atmosphere in a way that will impact your home, your peace, your finances, your relationships, and your path forward. But before this shift fully activates, heaven needed to remove anything that could contaminate the blessing. Think of it as spiritual cleansing. There were people, energies, and old attachments that could not travel into your next season. You may have already felt certain relationships weakening, certain conversations feeling empty, or certain people falling away. Nothing has been random. Every disconnection has been divinely timed. Michael continues, revealing that the enemy used the stranger as a final test to see whether fear could still control you. If you had fallen back into panic, doubt, mistrust, or emotional collapse, the enemy would have tried to open more doors. But your spirit did not collapse this time. Even in confusion, you sought clarity. Even in fear, you looked for understanding. Even in uncertainty, you listened for heaven's voice. And that, my dear one, is the mark of someone who has matured spiritually without even realizing it. Michael says, your growth is your protection. The person you used to be might have cracked under this pressure, but the person you are becoming has begun to see through illusions. You are no longer easily manipulated. You are no longer emotionally available to those who drain your soul. You are no longer blind to red flags. You have entered a stage of spiritual adulthood, and heaven is proud of you. Now Michael turns your attention to your home again, not the physical walls, but the spiritual structure forming around it. He says there is a new shield encircling your dwelling place, one that is stronger than anything the enemy has encountered before. This shield ignited the moment you began healing. It strengthened the moment you recognized your worth. It expanded the moment you released someone who no longer belonged in your life. And when the stranger attempted to cross its boundary, they were instantly confronted by Michael's sword. But here's a truth most people never hear. Whenever heaven strengthened your protection, it means heaven is preparing to strengthen your purpose. You are being elevated quietly. Your spirit is being aligned with new opportunities, new connections, and new blessings. You are reaching a stage where your life will begin expanding, spiritually, emotionally, and even materially. The enemy's attempt to infiltrate your home was a reaction to this expansion. Michael now reveals something deeply important. He says, do not fear what was outside your door. Fear only the voices that try to enter your mind. The stranger was never the real threat. The real attack was targeted at your thoughts, fear, doubt, anxiety, insecurity. Because if the enemy can gain access to your mind, they no longer need access to your home. But heaven says your mind is being restored. Your clarity is returning. Your intuition is sharpening. The fog that once clouded your perception is lifting. You are beginning to see the truth behind people's words, their actions, their energy. And now, Michael prepares you for the next phase of this revelation. He says that in the coming days, you will begin noticing signs. They may come through conversations, sudden clarity, unexpected dreams, or intuitive nudges that feel stronger than usual. Something will reveal itself to you, slowly at first, then undeniably. Heaven is not just protecting you, heaven is enlightening you. As this part comes to its close, hold this truth in your spirit. The enemy attacked because your breakthrough is too close to stop. The stranger came because your elevation is almost complete. And Michael is speaking because your life is about to shift in a way that requires your awareness, not your fear. my chosen one. As this revelation deepens, Archangel Michael's presence becomes almost overwhelming in its intensity. The air around this message is heavy because the truth you are about to receive carries the weight of heaven's authority. Up until now, you have been shown the approach of the stranger, the energy behind the intrusion, and the spiritual transformation happening within you. But Michael now steps forward to reveal something far more personal, something that reaches into the core of your destiny. What happened outside your home was not only an act of protection, it was an act of separation, the final severing between who you used to be and who you are becoming. Michael begins with a statement that pierces directly into your spirit. The next season of your life requires a stronger version of you. You have already felt this tug internally. You have sensed that something is calling you higher, something is asking more from you, something is pushing you into a place where your intuition, your faith, and your courage must become sharper than they have ever been. This is because heaven is preparing to entrust you with responsibilities, opportunities, and blessings that will reshape your entire path. The enemy knew this, which is why they attempted to infiltrate your home before the shift occurred. But heaven intervened, and now your elevation cannot be delayed. Archangel Michael reveals that the stranger's appearance was not just a warning, it was a confirmation. Confirmation that you have stepped into a new spiritual rank. Confirmation that your presence is becoming more powerful. Confirmation that your purpose is awakening with an intensity that intimidates every force that once tried to suppress you. Heaven allowed the intruder to be exposed so you would understand the level of protection around you and the level of value you carry in the unseen realm. For so long, you underestimated your own worth. You believed your prayers were small. You believed your voice was quiet. You believed your journey was ordinary. But heaven never saw you that way. They saw someone destined for influence. They saw someone whose spirit shakes atmospheres without even trying. They saw someone who carries a light that disrupts darkness effortlessly. The enemy saw it too, and that is why they made one final attempt to intimidate you before your breakthrough settled. Michael now reveals something you may have felt but never had the words for. Recently, your spirit has felt more alert. You have been noticing things more quickly. You have sensed people's intentions more clearly. You have felt God's presence more closely. This spiritual sensitivity is not random. Heaven has been activating your discernment so you can navigate the next phase of your life with clarity instead of confusion. The intruder was meant to obscure your vision, but instead, heaven sharpened it. Michael turns your attention to relationships. He reveals that the next stage of your life will require you to release certain people, certain patterns, and certain emotional habits. The person whose hidden intentions were tied to the intruder will soon reveal themselves through their behavior. You will notice subtle shifts in their words, their tone, or their distance. Heaven is not asking you to judge them, only to recognize who cannot enter your next chapter. Spiritual protection is not just about shielding you from attacks. It is about removing access from those who are not aligned with your purpose. And now Michael speaks gently. Knowing this part may be difficult, let go of what heaven is releasing from you. This may include relationships you once valued, habits you once relied on, or even versions of yourself that no longer serve your future. The release may feel unfamiliar, but it is necessary. Heaven cannot fill your life with new blessings if your hands are still holding on to old burdens. The stranger outside your home was symbolic of an old energy attempting to re-enter your story. But once heaven blocked it, the cycle broke. This is why you may feel lighter lately, or clearer, or more aware. This is why your dreams have shifted. This is why your emotions feel different. You have officially stepped out of a spiritual season that once held you captive. You are no longer bound to the same patterns, and the enemy knows it. That is why they are retreating, frustrated, defeated, and powerless. Michael now lifts his sword in the realm of the spirit, not in battle, but in declaration. He says your home is sealed, your path is guarded, your destiny is protected. These words are not symbolic. They are literal decrees issued over your life. From this moment on, any darkness that attempts to approach you must pass through heaven's gates, and they will not be permitted to enter. As we approach the end of this segment, feel the truth settling into your spirit. You are not living in fear. You are living in divine awareness. You are not under attack. You are under elevation. You are not being threatened. You are being anointed. And now, before we move forward, hold your spirit steady, because the next part will reveal the identity or the energy the stranger was truly connected to. Trust me, this is where everything begins to make sense. Type "I walk in divine protection" in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 922 is now activated. Just as Archangel Michael shielded your home from the stranger's approach, this channel stands as a spiritual refuge for those seeking clarity, truth, and divine protection. When you sow into this mission, you are not simply giving. You are releasing light into a world filled with shadows. Heaven says that every seed becomes a shield, every offering becomes a torch pushing darkness away from another soul. I speak this to you now. If your heart feels stirred at this moment, it is because God is inviting you into partnership with what He is doing here. Your support unblocks rivers, opens spiritual pathways, and carries this prophetic message to those who desperately need it. To every giver, I declare breakthrough, protection, and open heavens over your life. Move with purpose. Activate your divine obedience through super thanks, membership, with a PayPal link in the description, and watch how heaven multiplies what you release. My illuminated soul, as we enter this next passage of the message, the realm around you feels different. Archangel Michael is no longer speaking from a distance. He has drawn so close that you can feel the weight of his presence pressing against the edges of your awareness. What comes now is not only revelation but exposure. Gentle, divine, deliberate exposure. Up until this point, heaven has shown you the approach of the stranger, the spiritual forces behind it, and the transformation awakening within you. But now, Michael begins to reveal the identity of the energy that moved through that stranger, the deeper intention behind their presence, and why your home became the target of such a calculated act. Michael's voice enters like a steady wind as he reveals that the stranger outside your home was tied to someone who has been silently watching your life. Not physically necessarily, but spiritually, emotionally, and energetically. You have been on someone's mind, someone whose thoughts toward you have not been clean. This does not always mean hatred. Sometimes envy looks like admiration. Sometimes resentment hides behind politeness. Sometimes fascination disguises itself as concern. But heaven sees beyond the masks. Heaven sees intention, vibration, and the quiet currents beneath the surface of human behavior. This person has been sending out an energy of conflict toward you, even without speaking a word aloud. Their thoughts were heavy, clouded with envy, fear, or unresolved pain, and these thoughts form a spiritual echo that tried to travel toward your life. When the enemy recognized the opening created by their inner turmoil, darkness attempted to take advantage of that split-second vulnerability. The stranger at your home was the manifestation of that echo. They were drawn by the frequency of conflict that this person carried. But hear this clearly, heaven never allowed their intentions to fully manifest. The moment their energy saw access, the moment the echo neared your home, the moment the spiritual doorway attempted to open, Michael stood in the gap. One flash of his sword, one breath of divine authority, and the attack was dismantled instantly. Yet Michael says it is important for you to understand why this happened now. You are entering a chapter where your influence, your presence, and your spiritual authority are rising. People are beginning to notice something different about you. Some respond with love, some with respect, and others with hidden, unsettled emotions. You carry a light that exposes the shadows in others, and those who are not ready to confront themselves may project their discomfort onto you, consciously or unconsciously. This person, whether near or distant, has been struggling with your growth. You have outgrown an emotional role they once placed you in. You have stepped out of an old identity they were comfortable with. You have evolved beyond their expectations. Your progress has confronted their stagnation, and instead of seeking healing, they directed their unresolved feelings toward you. They did not intend harm directly, but the enemy used the crack in their heart as an entry point. Michael wants you to understand this so you do not feel fear, but clarity. This is not about the stranger. It is about the energy behind them. It is about heaven showing you who cannot walk into your next season. It is about learning that not every heart that smiles at you is aligned with you. You are growing, elevating, transforming, and not everyone will celebrate the transformation. Michael now reveals another layer of truth. Your spiritual light has increased so significantly that it has begun illuminating hidden intentions around you. People whose energy once blended into the background are becoming more noticeable. Conversations that once felt normal now feel heavy or strangely off. Interactions that once comforted you now make you feel unsettled. This is discernment awakening, and it is one of the greatest gifts heaven can give you in this season. What once confused you will now become clear. What once manipulated you will now become visible. What once drained you will now be exposed. Michael reminds you that the protection around your home is not passive, it is active. Heaven is not shielding you from afar. Heaven is stationed at your gates. This attack was not permitted to touch your life because you have stepped into divine alignment. Your purpose is awakening. Your spirit is expanding. Your destiny is calling you forward with clarity and force. No attack can interrupt what heaven has ordained. Michael lifts his voice now, firm yet compassionate, as he says, "Release the fear of what approached you. It has no authority over your future." These words are meant to liberate your internal world. Fear cannot coexist with truth. Anxiety cannot survive where revelation enters. You are not meant to move forward in panic but in wisdom. This exposure is not meant to make you suspicious. It is meant to make you discerning. You do not need to fear this person. You do not need to confront them. Heaven will handle the separation. Your responsibility is simply to pay attention. When someone begins to distance themselves, let them. When someone's words begin to shift, listen. When your spirit tightens around someone, trust that feeling. Heaven always whispers before it removes. As this part of the message comes to a close, Michael has one more instruction. Prepare your heart for clarity that will come swiftly in the next phase of this revelation. Something you have been questioning will suddenly make sense. Something you have wondered about will be confirmed. And someone you have been unsure of will reveal their true nature through their actions. Hold steady now. The revelation ahead will bring understanding to everything you have been sensing. Before we continue, take a breath, because what comes next will open your eyes in a way you never expected. Wait for it, because the next part is where the truth begins to unfold fully. My advancing soul, as we step into this next unfolding, the veil thins even further. Archangel Michael does not simply stand beside you now. He stands over you, shielding, watching, guiding, commanding the atmosphere around your home with a force that darkness cannot imitate. What you are about to hear is not just revelation, it is transition. Heaven is moving you into a stage of your journey where nothing in your life will remain as it was. The stranger outside your home was the final echo of an old season dying, and what rises next is the beginning of a destiny long overdue. Michael begins with a truth that strikes directly at the heart of everything you have been experiencing. You were never in danger. You were being awakened. Those words may feel impossible when you remember the fear, tension, or emotional heaviness you recently felt. But heaven reveals that what you sensed was not threat. It was spiritual pressure releasing. You were shedding old energies. You were breaking invisible agreements. You were stepping out of cycles that once bound you without your awareness. The pressure you felt was not the enemy closing in on you, it was heaven stretching you into your next dimension. Michael now reveals the deeper reason the enemy sent the stranger to your home. They were trying to distort your perception. If the enemy can manipulate how you see, they can manipulate how you move. They wanted to make you doubt your safety, doubt your intuition, doubt your progress, and doubt your spiritual sensitivity. The moment you question your spiritual vision, you begin handing authority back to fear. But heaven intervened before that distortion could take root. Michael blocked the intruder so your clarity would remain intact. He now explains that your sensitivity, your dreams, your intuition, your sudden emotional shifts have been rising not because you are unstable, but because you are spiritually awakening at a rapid pace. You are beginning to see people for who they truly are, not who they pretend to be. You are beginning to feel the truth behind words rather than trusting the sound of them. You are beginning to notice when a room feels off, when a conversation feels strange, when a person's energy shifts. This level of awareness is not paranoia. It is discernment. It is spiritual maturity. It is your soul stepping into the authority heaven hath been preparing for you. Michael turns your attention now to the unseen battle that ended the moment he intervened. He reveals that the enemy did not send the stranger randomly. They were sent to disrupt what heaven is about to open in your life. You are approaching a blessing that requires stability. You are approaching a breakthrough that requires emotional security. You are approaching an opportunity that requires clear vision. The enemy hoped to unsettle you, hoping confusion would spill into every area of your life. But heaven cut the attack short so you would walk into your blessings with strength rather than fear. And now, the truth deepens. The blessing coming toward you involves alignment. Something you have been waiting for. Perhaps guidance, provision, partnership, clarity, or emotional renewal is entering your life with divine timing. You may not see it yet, but the shift has already begun. The atmosphere around you is rearranging itself. People are being moved out of your path. Doors are beginning to unlock. Conversations are being orchestrated. Opportunities are positioning themselves. Heaven is setting the stage for something that will alter the direction of your journey. Michael says, your home is becoming a gateway of blessing. What once felt like a place of survival is becoming a place of elevation. The enemy wanted to infect your sanctuary with fear, but heaven has declared your home holy ground. From this point forward, everything entering your home must align with your destiny. Everything leaving your home must be something heaven has released. This is why old emotions have surfaced and dissolved. This is why old relationships have suddenly changed. This is why your spirit feels unfamiliar but strangely stronger. Your home has become a spiritual boundary line, one the enemy can no longer cross. Now Michael shifts his tone, becoming more direct. He tells you that your voice, your presence, and your purpose carry more power than you realize. The enemy attempted to silence you through intimidation because they fear what happens when you step fully into your spiritual identity. But the block failed. The intimidation failed. The fear failed. And now you rise, not quietly, not timidly, but with the authority of someone who has survived what was meant to destroy them. There is something else Michael needs you to understand. The person whose energy contributed to the intruder's appearance is someone heaven is removing from your emotional axis. You may notice distance forming. You may notice conversations becoming shallow. You may notice your spirit no longer being at ease around them. This is not rejection. It is protection. Heaven is closing the emotional gateway that once allowed that person's thoughts to influence your life. Their chapter in your story is ending, and heaven is ushering in something healthier, stronger, and more aligned with your growth. As this message reaches its final moments, Michael gives you a gentle but powerful instruction. Do not retreat into fear. Do not shrink your spirit. Do not second-guess your intuition. This is your awakening. This is your rising. This is your new spiritual identity anchoring itself inside you. What happened outside your home is not a threat, it is a sign that heaven is guarding you, guiding you, and preparing you for what is next. Before we move forward, help this message reach those who need divine protection. Like this video to strengthen its reach. Comment your thoughts to stay in alignment with this prophetic flow. Share it so others under spiritual attack can find clarity and safety. And subscribe to the channel, because the revelations coming after this one will guide you into the breakthrough that has already begun forming around you. Hold steady now. The next chapter of this revelation will take you deeper into the truth of who you are becoming and what heaven is about to expose next. My transforming soul, as we cross into this next dimension of the message, the atmosphere becomes heavier with truth. Archangel Michael moves closer, his wings casting a protective shadow over the path ahead. The urgency in his presence has not softened. If anything, it has intensified. What happened outside your home was not simply a moment of protection. It was a spiritual revelation designed to awaken you to the authority heaven has placed upon you. And now, Michael begins to reveal the deeper story behind this attack, the untold layers that explain why your life has been marked for elevation and why the enemy fought so hard to disrupt your peace. Michael begins with a declaration meant to anchor your soul. You are being positioned for something greater than you imagine. This is not exaggeration. You have reached a moment in your spiritual timeline where heaven is aligning opportunities, connections, and breakthroughs that have been delayed for far too long. You may have felt uncertainty recently, a strange pull between endings and beginnings. It is because heaven has been rearranging your life behind the scenes. Old cycles have been closing. Old fears have been dissolving. Old limitations have been falling away. You are stepping into a season where your voice will matter, where your presence will influence, where your spiritual authority will activate. Michael reveals that the stranger outside your home was not only there to intimidate you, they were there as a last attempt to pull you back into patterns you have been breaking. You have been releasing old identities, versions of yourself that were shaped by pain, abandonment, guilt, rejection, or fear. These old versions once made you predictable to the enemy. They knew how to rattle you. They knew how to silence you. They knew how to manipulate your emotions. But that version of you is no longer alive. You have evolved past the point where fear can control your destiny. This is why the attack came now. The enemy realized you were slipping out of their grip. The moment heaven declared your elevation, darkness launched its final attempt. The stranger outside your home represented the last thread trying to pull you back into an emotional, spiritual, or psychological trap. But when Michael intervened, the thread snapped. This means you are now free, completely free from something that held you longer than you ever admitted. Michael now shifts the focus onto the spiritual awakening happening inside you. You may have noticed that your inner world feels different. You are beginning to see things more clearly, not just with your eyes but with your spirit. Conversations that used to confuse you now reveal deeper truths. People who once drained your energy now feel distant. Situations that once felt overwhelming now feel insignificant. This is because your spirit has risen above old frequencies. You are not vibrating at the level of your past anymore. You are being elevated into a new spiritual frequency where deception cannot hide and fear cannot penetrate. Michael wants you to understand that this awakening is why heaven has been guarding you so fiercely. Not everyone around you has been happy about your growth. Some have watched your transformation with silent jealousy. Others have felt threatened by your strength. Some have projected their insecurities onto you. And a few, without even realizing it, carried energy that allowed darkness to use them as a doorway. This does not make them evil. It simply means they are unhealed. But heaven refuses to let their wounds affect your destiny. This is why you may feel yourself pulling away from certain people, habits, or environments. Heaven is creating separation. The elevation you are stepping into requires emotional sovereignty. You cannot carry the weight of others' expectations into your breakthrough. You cannot shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You cannot dim your light to avoid intimidating those who refuse to grow. Michael says, do not apologize for the distance heaven is creating around you. Now Michael reveals something even deeper. The stranger's presence was a spiritual test, not for you, but for the forces observing your life. The enemy wanted to see if fear still held authority over you. They wanted to see if you would panic, collapse, or question your worth. But instead, you sought understanding. You listened for heaven's voice. You opened your spirit to divine revelation. That response shattered the enemy's plan. This proves something crucial. You are no longer who you were in your last season. You are stepping into your identity. You are awakening to your spiritual assignment. You are sensing your divine protection. And soon, you will begin walking in a confidence that only comes from surviving what was meant to destroy you. Michael concludes this portion with a whisper that carries more power than thunder. Prepare yourself. What you lost will be restored. What was delayed will be released. What was hidden will be revealed. These words are a prophecy over your life. The stranger's failure was the sign that the blessing is now unstoppable. As we pause here, steady your spirit. Something extraordinary is about to unfold in the final revelation. You'll want to hear what comes next, because it will connect every puzzle piece heaven has been placing before you. My destined soul, as we enter this final revelation, the atmosphere around you shifts into a stillness that can only come from heaven's highest realms. Archangel Michael is no longer just standing guard. He is standing victorious. The battle that once approached your home has not only been stopped, it has been reversed. What was meant to shake you has strengthened you. What was meant to frighten you has awakened you. What was meant to break you has positioned you for one of the most powerful seasons of your life. And now, Michael delivers the final truth behind everything that unfolded. He begins by saying, the attack outside your home was never about destruction. It was about revelation. The intruder's presence forced hidden energies into the open. It revealed the intentions of people whose hearts were not aligned with yours. It exposed the spiritual frequencies that had been circling your life for far too long. But most importantly, it revealed you, the rising, resilient, spiritually awakened version of yourself that you had not yet fully recognized. Michael wants you to see what he sees when he looks at you. A warrior who survived storms that would have crushed others. A soul that continued to rise even when everything around it tried to pull it down. A chosen one whose purpose is too powerful for darkness to comprehend. The reason the enemy fought you so aggressively is because they saw what you could not yet see. They saw the light in you intensifying. They saw your spirit sharpening. They saw your identity unfolding. They saw your destiny approaching with momentum. And they feared the moment you would finally step into your spiritual authority. Now that moment has arrived. Michael reveals that your home is now sealed by divine decree. The boundary around your spiritual space has been reinforced. No intruder, no dark intention, no wandering spirit, no envious energy can cross what heaven has consecrated. Michael has placed warriors at every corner of your dwelling, and their assignment is simple. Guard your peace, guard your destiny, guard your awakening. The threat you once felt is now gone, not weakened, not reduced, but completely removed. Now heaven turns your attention to something deeper. The stranger who approached your home was the last piece of an old story. That story, filled with fear, cycles, misalignment, and emotional instability, is now closed. It cannot follow you into your next chapter. Heaven has severed the final tie. This means your life is about to shift in both visible and invisible ways. Your relationships will align. Your opportunities will expand. Your intuition will deepen. Your environment will purify. The person you were and the person you are becoming can no longer coexist. Only the awakened version of you can walk forward now. Michael says, you are stepping into a season of divine restoration. Everything that was delayed will begin moving. Everything that was taken will return in multiplied form. Everything that was stolen, your peace, your confidence, your joy, your security, will be restored with divine precision. You have entered a time where heaven is not only protecting you, but rewarding you. The enemy's failure has triggered heaven's release. Michael continues, revealing that clarity is about to flood your life. You will suddenly understand why people left, why situations changed, why certain doors closed, and why specific challenges came. Nothing was random. Every shift was preparation. Every separation was protection. Every discomfort was transformation. All of it brought you to this moment, the moment where heaven says, rise into who you were always meant to be. And now, he delivers the final truth. You were never the victim of this story. You were the weapon. Your light disrupted darkness. Your growth threatened old energy. Your awakening broke generational cycles. Your prayer shattered spiritual interference. Your resilience confused the enemy. Your elevation destroyed their axis. You have no idea how powerful you are becoming, but heaven sees it clearly. That is why they fought for you. That is why Michael intervened. That is why this message was sent. Michael concludes with a declaration written in the language of heaven. No weapon formed against you will prosper, because you are walking under divine command. These words do not simply comfort you, they crown you. You are now entering a phase of your journey where spiritual insight will guide you, divine protection will surround you, and supernatural alignment will carry you into blessings you once only imagined. What approached your home is gone. What belongs to you is coming. What is behind you is sealed. What is ahead of you is blessed. As this revelation closes, let your spirit breathe. You have survived the storm. You have passed the test. You have been chosen for elevation. And from this moment forward, nothing that tried to harm you will ever have authority again. Type I rise in divine authority in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 1444 is now activated. Just as Archangel Michael shielded your home and guided you through each layer of this revelation, this channel exists to bring spiritual protection, clarity, and divine truth to souls walking through battles they cannot see. When you support this mission, you are not giving to a platform. You are helping heaven reach those who are standing where you once stood. God says every seed becomes a light in someone else's darkness. Every offering becomes a sword placed in the hand of a soul who had been fighting alone. And now I speak this directly into your spirit. If this message awakens something in you, it is because heaven is calling you to partner with the work being done here. Your support becomes a prophetic act that unlocks blessing, restoration, and open heavens over your life. To every giver, I release the promise of overflow, protection, and divine acceleration. Move boldly. Activate your blessing through Super Thanks membership with a PayPal link in the description, and let heaven honor your obedience with supernatural favor.